Create Your Life presents the Dream Bigger Extravaganza. 12 speakers reveal how they moved from fear to freedom and how you can too. Welcome. So I am so delighted to introduce you today to Amber Zuckswert. As a professional contemporary ballet modern dancer with over 24 years of technique, performance, and teaching under her belt, Amber turned to the Pilates method to stay in peak mind-body condition and injury-free. Since graduating from the rigorous and renowned John Fletcher program of study, she has worked with a vast array of clients, from professional dancers and athletes to pre- and postnatal women to injury rehab patients. Amber's holistic nutrition studies span Western sports nutrition, traditional Chinese medicine, and Indian Ayurveda. She is a proud graduate of the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York, and has extensive self-study in plant-based nutrition, living raw foods, and superfoods. She has taught for many of the world's most revered clubs, retreat centers, and festivals, including Equinox San Francisco, Sports Club LA, Rancho LA Puerta, Bali Spirit Festival, and the Envision Festival. For the past 5 years, after teaching across Australia for a year, she began leading retreats and workshops in various paradise locations, including Mexico, Bali, and Costa Rica. Amber is the founder of the Center for Epic Living in Manuel Antonio, Costa Rica, and the creator of EpicSelf.com online wellness coaching. Amber loves nothing more than empowering and inspiring people to dramatically change their life through nutrition and mind-body fitness. So welcome, Amber, to the Dream Bigger Extravaganza! Yay!
Thanks for having me, Tara. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh, so glad you're here with us. So I like to start by going beyond the bio and get the backstory. So share with us, Amber, what kicked off your own health and wellness journey?
Well, I would say it really began back in high school. As a dancer growing up, my parents put me in ballet when I was 3. And right around 17, 18 years old, I really just was so devoted to my dance training and competitions and performing and choreography that I really wanted to take my dancing to the next level. And I knew that a lot of that had to do with nutrition, just by way of, hearsay that, sports nutrition would help with my performance and my endurance. And so I just got really interested in sports nutrition at the time, Western sports nutrition, and just dove into as many books as I could and saw that just by simply changing my diet, whether that was eliminating sugar or going gluten-free or eliminating dairy from my diet, whatever it was that I kind of tinkered with, as I progressed along the journey, I started feeling better and better and performing better and better and just feeling so much more clear and energized, and was able to not only endure so much more, but recover so much faster. And I said, there's something to this. And my science and geeky side, I was like, I just loved every second of it. So that started the journey into what I call epic living, or creating your most epic self, so that you really do feel the most energized and balanced mind, body, and spirit. And I really do feel that nutrition is a massive part of that. And so, and then along the years, as I went into college, I started to study traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda as well. And those even further tinkered with what I was currently doing, and just took, again, my performance to the next level. And so I just kept digging and experimenting with myself. And then I started coaching clients as I went through the integrated school of nutrition, and was exploring, what was working and wasn't working for them, and what was working for myself, and formulating programs based on people's specific constitutions, based on what I had experienced and what my peers had experienced and whatnot. And so it's just been this really wonderful journey of not only research and study, but also working with the public and seeing what does and doesn't work on my own body and other people's. And the final kind of kick into raw foods and superfoods actually came when my grandfather died of colon cancer. And he had, been sick for years with various things, diabetes, sleep apnea, and then the colon cancer came, and he was also diabetic. And it just really hit me that I don't want that to be me. And that won't be me, because I take such good care of myself, and I want to educate others on how to maintain their health so that they can dance into their 90s and live their most epic self. And so also, the blog was a big part of that as well, because I started blogging about, 7 years ago now, right when blogging kind of kick-started. And so that just kept fueling me as well, because I was writing articles and getting feedback, and just created this whole community around health and wellness, and that just fueled me to keep going.
Okay, beautiful. So a combination of research and book study, and then getting right in there and experimenting with your own body, and then supporting others and gathering information, and along that journey have created this community. And from such a heart-centered place of wanting longevity. And I love that, dancing into your 90s. I don't know if you know this about me, but something I love to do is Latin dance, salsa and bachata. So I would love to be doing that by 90. So that's a great intention. I just set that for myself. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's like, I knew that I wanted to dance as long as I could, as long as I was physically able. And that's, Pilates and yoga were a huge part of that. About 9 years ago now that I got into those methods to really prevent injury and be able to maintain my longevity into my 90s.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. So you really bring travel and wellness together into your work with destination retreats there in Costa Rica. That's where you are today?
Yes.
So it's so cool. And I just know so many folks watching have dreams that include international travel. So what launched you into traveling and expanding your work to be international? Because I think you're from California originally. Yeah? Yeah.
Yes.
Tell us.
So, I just graduated college, and I was so just burned out with school, and I had been dancing, 4 to 6 hours a day for the last 20 years at that point, if not more. And I was just so burnt out with my disciplined, cookie-cutter existence that, to me, it just led to materialism and just this kind of cookie-cutter American dream that wasn't making me happy. And I found myself sitting in San Francisco in my one-bedroom apartment, all the quote successful things that would deem you successful in American society, whether that's, having a car and a nice apartment, but for me it was, I had a great apartment, I lived by myself, I had everything I ever needed and wanted. I had a closet full of clothes, half of which had tags on it because I had retail therapy struggles where, if I was stressed, I'd go shop or something. And so it just really hit me after reading several blogs and just reading more and more various, and being in San Francisco, where there's such a diversity of culture and language and travelers, and San Francisco itself is a very transient city in general, and it brings everybody together in this melting pot. And so I just was at this time where I needed change, and I decided to just sell everything, because I realized that being materialistic wasn't making me happy. And to me, what I craved more than anything was travel. And I had been traveling on and off, just like a couple weeks here, a couple weeks there. I'd been to Thailand and Mexico a couple times. And then I just decided I'm going to sell everything and go live abroad in Australia, which was a place that had always been calling me since I was a kid. And so I ventured out there. I lived out of 2 backpacks. So I got rid of everything except for what I could fit on my back. And I traveled and taught and danced around Australia for a year. And it was to find myself, really, and to find what it was I was passionate about and what my purpose was. And I had some really low points during that journey, really low points. But it was the most profound experience for me, because I learned so much about myself and how to really take care of myself and really, again, find my passions and purpose. And so when I came back to the States, I was that much more driven and focused and able to really progress in the steps and ways that I wanted to and really achieve my goals. So that gave me the travel itch for sure. And then I was like, okay, I need to continue this international travel. I wanted to be an international instructor and be teaching all over the world. That was my dream. And so I started just reaching out to various retreat centers and learning from others around me that were already doing it. I never had like any standalone mentor that I worked with, but I just was able to observe and see what was going on and reach out and figure out on my own how to kind of start that journey. Yeah. And so yeah, I'd say that was it. And then I started offering retreats and workshops abroad.
Nice. I love it. So you just really set sail. You said, I'm going to let go of this stuff and I'm going to travel in Australia for a year with 2 backpacks. I actually relate. We have more in common than I realized when, or initially. I too spent 6 months I spent 6 months in Australia, not a year. And I backpacked about 2 of those 6. And it was just an awesome experience. But more than anything, I remember when I was on the plane going to Australia and I started to cry because I realized that no one on the entire continent had any idea who I was. And that was just like such a freeing idea. Do you relate to that?
Yeah, I mean, it was ultimate freedom for me to be able to get rid of all my stuff. I mean, that, first of all, is a massive amount of freedom in knowing that you have everything that you'll ever need on your back. And you can go anywhere and be totally fine. And that is the most freeing thing anybody can do, I think. Yeah, and then going to a place where nobody knows you, then you have this opportunity to recreate yourself. And really become the person that you've been wanting to be and that you haven't been able to be in your current social circle and environment back home. Either recreate or like find out who you are when there aren't the expectations of others. That's what I really feel. Yes.
So, yeah, really cool. All right, so we'll have to talk Australia sometime and like hear where your favorite places are. So I really find that the bigger the dream, the bigger the fear. So what fears have come up for you along your journey? And what have you done to overcome them, Amber?
I'd say my biggest fears, like most recently, was definitely moving to Costa Rica because, I had moved to Australia and I moved back to the States afterward. And I was really I was wondering what it was going to take me to leave San Francisco because if people out there know me, they know I love San Francisco. I love everything about it. It's innovation. It's entrepreneurial energy. It's sustainability. I love everything about it. And so I was wondering what was it going to take for me to leave? And it took really, first of all, envisioning this dream of what my ideal wellness center would even look like. And I'd had this dream a long time ago. And I'd written an ideal day out. One of my blog posts like years ago was, what does your ideal day look like? And if you wrote it out, what would it include? And part of it was a studio, my own studio, a dance, Pilates, yoga studio on the beach, where I could bike to work and I could have my own organic garden in the back of my little cottage and I could have my husband and my kids and like this whole dream I envisioned. And when I came down to Costa Rica, it really hit me that this was that opportunity and that if I didn't jump on it, I'd really regret it a couple years later. And so my biggest fear was moving down here into a completely new culture where I didn't know the language. And I didn't know the laws and the rules, and I was learning them as I went. But it was like, okay, opening a business is one thing, but opening in another country is a completely different thing, a different animal. And then doing it by myself was also huge. And because I've done so much on my own in the past, and I built my own business on my own, it was like, okay, this is the next level. And I'm ready for it. I'm really ready for it. But I was still terrified. I was excited and terrified all at the same time. So what I've done in the past with stage performance as well and presenting is instead of taking it as fear, I flip it and turn it into excitement with my internal self-dialogue and with my actions and my speech. Speech is huge. Thoughts are number one, but then it's also how you speak about what you're doing and how excited you are to share that with people. So instead of being like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared about moving to Costa Rica, it's like, no, I'm so excited and I'm so ready. And you just flip those thoughts and the speech around, and it starts to really become who you are.
Yes, beautiful. Yeah, so having the feelings of fear, terrified, we said, and excited together is really such a powerful place to be. And it doesn't mean back up and don't do it. I hope I'm quoting correctly. I think it was Fritz Perls who said that fear, excitement fear is excitement without the breath. Yes, I think that's it. Fear is excitement without the breath. That they're really on this same spectrum, and it's about breathing so that you can relax into the excitement that's right on the other side of that fear. So very, very cool.
That's so true. And breath work is actually something that, now that you're bringing that up, is something that's been really crucial to me in my performance on stage and teaching. I start every class with breath work, because not only does it ground the student in a space and bring them into the present moment, but it allows me that time to go, okay, you're in front of people again. This is your plan or not your plan, whatever it is you're thinking. But to not let your own mental shadow trip you up. And breath work is how I calm that down and calm the nerves. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Giving yourself what you need as you give others the chance to breathe into what's about to happen. But a great strategy as a leader. It's beautiful. So, so dreams really, really evolve and they change over time, just as we do. And I'm curious, how has your dream shifted over time?
Well, it's so interesting that you asked that, because it has shifted many times. When I got back from Australia, I actually was saving all my money to go on a trip to Europe, because I wanted to move to Europe and dance professionally. And I went and did this journey where I traveled through London and Barcelona and Amsterdam and Berlin, and was trying to decide where I could really live for quality of life, because I still wanted the great quality of life I had in San Francisco, but I wanted to be able to dance and make more money dancing and do it full time, because in San Francisco it's just not an option. There's not a lot of paid work. And it's really challenging for a dancer in the United States compared to Europe. And so I was like, well, I got out there, I realized I could never have the quality of life that I have in California and do what I love. And I got the offer to work at Rancho La Puerta, which is down in Baja, Mexico. And that it gave me that balance of city life and simple, natural life. And I said, you know what, if I could do that, go down to the ranch every month and still live in San Francisco, then I'm going to do that. And so that totally derailed that whole dance dream of going to Europe. And I ended up staying in San Francisco and working at the ranch and learning so much from that, because the ranch is the world's #1 destination spa. So I learned so much about being there. And then this whole opportunity came up when I came down to teach in Costa Rica, where I fell in love, but I didn't really know what I was going to do in terms of I knew I wanted to teach down here in some capacity, whether that was for hotels or festivals or just offer workshops. And then the opportunity came up to actually open up my own center. And I had investors interested in my project. And I went, oh my gosh, what would happen if this actually went through? And then I'm here and I'm doing it. And now even more the dream is shifting, because I'm realizing what isn't working. And what you did think was going to work, you have to re-strategize and go, you know what, it's actually not great for me to be here teaching. What's better is for me to be in the States and in Europe promoting what I'm doing here and teaching abroad and bringing people back here versus staying here and teaching classes all day. As much as I would love to do that, it's not the most where I need to be. And so I'm learning as I go. And that's part of it, is knowing that it's an experiment and that life is an experiment and that you can't plan. You can plan as much as you want, but it's always going to be derailed. And you just have to be able to flow with whatever's happening and do the best that you can with what you're given.
Okay, what a beautiful example of you're gathering data. You're gathering more information each step of the way. And you couldn't possibly have seen this until you were here where you are. And it's not like something was wrong or you missed it, but rather now you're looking at, like, how can I fine-tune the vision based on what I know now?
Exactly.
And how can I course correct or tweak those parts that are not feeling fully aligned? And how can I keep the pieces that feel really aligned? And so just being in the process with it, what a great model you are of really being in that process and letting the information come to you and adjusting, adapting.
I think that's the #1 skill I've learned over all of the years of doing this is adaptability and evolving.
Okay, well said. So what keeps you motivated?
I think it's the fulfillment of doing something that I love. Like I get into the studio and it just comes out of me. It's really effortless. And so I love teaching and I love seeing other people awaken. I feel like all I do all day is inspire and awaken people in their bodies and their minds. And to see that change in somebody and to see that I'm making a positive impact on someone's life, that then they leave the studio and they then affect other people. And so when I was struggling with finding my purpose and my drive and where I was going with everything that I knew and loved, I was like, okay, I know I love dance. I know I'm into nutrition, but like, how do I tie this all together? And how is it going to benefit society? And how am I going to make an impact in my life? And for some reason, like ever since I was a kid, it was like, you're here for something. You're here to make change, to be the change. Like, you know, Gandhi so famously said, we need to be the change. And in doing so, we inspire others to be their best and to do their best in the world and to make impact. So I don't know. I feel like it's part of the fact that I just love what I do. And it's also that deep down, I was really born with just this drive to make change, positive change. And I think a lot of that came from when I was a kid. I was really, I was born and raised in Santa Cruz, California, which if you guys know is like, it's a very forward-thinking, progressive town where I was learning how to recycle in kindergarten, and I brought home recycling to my parents. I was like, "Mom, we need to save the otters and recycle." And it's like that. I was ingrained with that as a young girl, and so then it just became this like, well, I remember at 9 years old, I was calling the shampoo companies and saying, "Why do you test on rabbits?" And they're sending me their pamphlets on the chemicals in their shampoo, and it was so funny. That's just who I was as a little girl too.
Yeah.
So
that's who you were as a little girl, and that's who you still are in the sense of really, being motivated to be in wellness with people and the universe.
Right.
Well, that's so cool. I love it. And I love Santa Cruz. What a great place. I like knowing you grew up there. It helps me connect and understand a little bit more about where you come from. So really cool. So what have you found to be the 3 biggest obstacles that hold people back from really fully being their most epic self?
Number one, I'd say is negative mental talk, self-destructive thoughts, negative. When I learned how to switch my negative thoughts into positive thoughts, or how to meditate and really quiet my mind, when I learned those techniques in college primarily, and also as a young girl, as a performer, learning how to talk myself out of those negative thoughts that come in. Oh, you're going to screw up again. Because I went through some horrible times as a dancer where 1 or 2 times I blanked out on stage. And I had just these like kind of traumatic moments where I had to keep dancing even though I didn't know the routine. And I had to figure out how to deal with that. And a lot of that was my own mental dialogue. And dance has helped me so much with that, because with dance, you really just have to be out of mind in many ways, and in mind because you've got to know what you're doing next. But at the same time, be out of the mind enough that it doesn't affect you negatively. And so just through my life, but also mainly in college too, I was actually really learning about how to switch your thoughts. That was I think that's a huge thing for most people. Lack of self-love and negative internal self-dialogue. The second thing I'd say most consistently across the board is just lack of physical movement, especially in modern day society. We all sit, 7 to 8 to 10 hours a day. And it's scary when you ask people, how many hours they sit, and they sit at work and then they go home and sit. And I strongly believe that humans were meant to move. They were not meant to sit. Our spines do not take it. Our hips do not take it. We're meant to be moving and lifting and walking and running and climbing mountains. And so lack of physical movement. So I always recommend that everybody at least walk an hour a day, at least. If they can't do anything else, to walk an hour a day to get lymph flow, energy, oxygen, all of those things. And then the third is poor nutrition. And so that's why my health coaching really encompasses not only mindful fitness, but nutrition. And I really do feel that, we know that, our cells are made of what we eat. And so not only is it the thoughts that we're saying to ourselves and the oxygen that we gain and muscle and strength and flexibility we gain through fitness, but it's also what we're feeding ourselves. And if we're feeding clean plant-based foods to our cells, that's what we become. And, that completely changes our energy for the day. And so it's just by eating a green smoothie in the morning and having a salad at lunch is going to radically shift the way that you feel about yourself. And that's going to then change the way that you think about yourself, and then the way that you move in the world. You're going to want to move a lot more. And those that eat well, they have so much energy, they can't help but go work out.
I love it. Yeah, so that positive domino effect happens if we're all starting with a green smoothie in the morning. Yeah, what a perfect example. So, okay, great. So we've got the negative mental chatter, the lack of physical movement, and poor nutrition. So noting those for people listening who are like, yes, all three, or two of the three, or that one especially. So what advice do you have for folks who want to start today to increase their wellness and really kickstart healthy habits?
Well, I think number one for the mental chatter, to cultivate a meditation practice, whether that's in the morning or whether that's just before you go to bed. Those are really easy times for people to slip in, like 5 or 10 minutes of just quiet time. I used to also do it on the bus when I was in between clients or classes, and giving yourself the time to sit down and be quiet with yourself every single day, where you can just sink into what's happening inside your mental chatter. And it's learning how to watch your thoughts without judgment. And it takes a lot of time to be able to differentiate your mental chatter from who you are, and not allow those negative thoughts to affect you, but to first witness them and build awareness around them that they're there. And once you're aware that they're there, then you can start to go, okay, now I can pick and choose how I respond to this thought. This thought's coming in like, oh, you're stupid and you're fat and blah, blah, whatever negative thoughts are coming in. And you go, wow, I'm really mean to myself. Wow, I can't believe this is happening in my own head. And then once you're aware, you're able to start to change those thoughts and say, you know what, instead of letting this thought just pummel me every day, I'm going to change that thought and start to re-say it in a different way and say it out loud and verbalize it to people. And that's huge. So I would say number one, start with a meditation practice or just a quiet practice before and after bed.
I'm so eager to jump in and say how powerful it is what you've said about first recognizing that those thoughts are not who you are.
Yes. That there's a separation, that we are completely separate from our mental chatter, and that the emotions and the storylines, like the past and present projections of whatever we're creating in our mind is really just an illusion, and that all we ever really have is this moment. And so if we can keep bringing our awareness back to the moment, into our breath, into our body, and that's why I love meditation and physical practice, because it gets you back in touch with what's going on here in the now, and allows you to push away all of that excessive stress and anxiety and fear that comes in our past and present projection, or past and future projections. Movement, just starting half an hour to an hour a day of walking minimum. If you're already doing that, then increase that. Do weightlifting, go to a favorite class. Like, I highly recommend that you make whatever you're doing physically, active-wise, really fun. Go make it really fun. Do it with your friends, because consistency is what matters most. So it doesn't matter what you choose, but you just want to keep doing it and keep showing up for yourself. And I say this every morning in yoga, that the fact that you showed up to your mat is 90% of the work. And you just do your best with your breath until the end of class. You walk out feeling like $1 million, and no one ever regrets working out, ever.
Yeah,
it's just showing up and being there. And so if they can get there, they're good.
Yeah, and showing up for yourself.
That's it. Because it's self-love, and it's a gift. And it's a gift to give yourself an hour and a half of time on the mat, above and beyond anything else. It's definitely a gift to yourself. And many people don't see it that way. They see it as like a punishment, like, oh, I've been sitting all day, I have to go punish myself in the gym. And it's like, no, this is when you get to be alive and like be in your body and go have a good time. And get out of your head, get away from the stress and the work and the grind.
Yeah.
So
an important reframe for sure.
Reframe, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Any other advice for someone who wants to kickstart and start today?
Yes, nutrition-wise would be to drink a lot more water. Okay. Always have a glass of water by your side, fresh spring water ideally, nothing in a plasticized bottle. or tap water. Tap water, again, is full of chlorine and fluoride and all sorts of antibiotics and things that are flushed down the toilets. So just being aware of what you're drinking, making sure it's really good drinking water, and adding more fruits and veggies into your day. So whether that's a green smoothie or that's a salad, but just eating more of the good stuff, which will eventually crowd out the junk.
Ah, I like that. Eating more of the good stuff, it will eventually crowd out the junk. Rather than focusing on what I shouldn't be eating, focus on what you want more of. That's the law of attraction applied to nutrition.
That's right. It's the abundance mentality that you never feel deprived because you can eat as much as you want of fresh fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and sprouted grains. You can eat as much of that as you want. And eventually your body recognizes that more than anything else. And so it will crave that. I mean, my assistant's a prime example. She just moved down here to work for me, and she's been on a raw diet for the last couple weeks. And she said, I've never, ever craved a salad ever in my life. And I'm craving a salad or two every single day. Wow. And she doesn't eat anything processed anymore. And she can't even explain how exciting that is to be able to, like, her body's craving real nutrition. And she was eating such small portions in the beginning because her body was finally satiated with nutrition, with nutrients and minerals that she was lacking from eating a processed food diet. But she would finish her plate, like half a plate of salad, and be like, I'm really, really, really full. And she's like, this has never happened. I always eat like 2 plates full of food. And I was like, your body's telling you, it knows, it understands real food, and it'll stop. It'll tell you when to stop.
So this has been just so fantastic. So thank you so much for everything you've shared. And for those who want to learn more, what's your website? How can people follow up? How can they come to Costa Rica and be with you?
Sure, yeah. So Epic Self is my main website, and that's where I do all my online coaching through. So I coach through Skype and Google Plus Hangouts, and so you can find all my programs there. I actually have an Epic Challenge coming up, which is a 3-week online group coaching program, and that includes nutrition, Pilates, and yoga videos being sent to as well, group coaching and personal coaching. And then in terms of the center down here in Costa Rica, the Center for Epic Living is here in Manuel Antonio, and that website is epiclivingcenter.com. And so they can check that out and just see what the upcoming retreats and workshops and classes I'm offering here. And and all that other information. So Epic Self and epiclivingcenter.com are the two websites to check out.
So epicself.com and epiclivingcenter.com.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thanks for all of that. So I understand that you have a free gift that you're offering to those who are watching. So can you tell us about it?
Absolutely. So I wanted to offer you guys my Detox Your Life e-course, which is a 3-hour audio recording of a wonderful detox program I did about 1.5 years ago. And it's an hour for each lecture. It's 3 hours total of how to detox your life. And that's everything from your social circle to nutrition to your mind, body, fitness, workout routine. So and it also includes internal self-dialogue. So it's a big, broad spectrum of things that we cover over those 3 hours, but it's a ton of information. And what comes with it is the non-GMO buying guide, my top 25 easy, raw, vegan, and delicious recipes, and also a shopper's guide to chemical-free, organic sunscreens and makeup and things like that from the Environmental Working Protection Group. So lots of things. It's a big welcome kit and the Detox Your Life e-course.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're
and
so welcome.
I just wish you, and I know you'll just dance through life till you're 90 and beyond, really. Yeah, so I wish you a wonderful day there in Costa Rica. You said it's hot there, yeah?
Yeah, it's about 90 degrees, and we're gearing up for Zumba and salsa class tonight, which you'll have to come down to and take the salsa classes.
I know, I would love it.
We have a blast down here, so yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.